Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Live Chat with James, coming to you from the Propics TV studios here in Metro Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Welcome to the show, and I thank you for tuning in. Don't forget that you can interact by adding your comments to the comment section, regardless as to what platform you're tuning in from. As you'll see, we are now tuning in on various platforms at the same time, going live. So we are now on YouTube, Twitch, as well as LinkedIn and Facebook Live. We have eliminated TikTok Live. Yes, we are no longer on TikTok Live, and there are several reasons for that. First of all, it is a matter of trying to bring the show to as many platforms as we can to allow as many people as possible to interact with the program. Second of all, we keep getting shut down on TikTok. We bring news and events that are important to our viewers. And sometimes that news can bring stories that offend some on TikTok. So we keep getting banned on TikTok and have to keep filing appeals. And right now on our main account on TikTok, we have been banned yet once again. And we do not have an option to appeal this time. So we have just gone away from TikTok in terms of the lives. We do still have a TikTok account that is at Propics TV, so that is our handle on TikTok for the other account, and you're welcome to use that account to interact with us and to watch for posts there. But again, our other accounts have been disabled by TikTok, and we are not going to fight with them over it. We bring a lot of content and views up to well over 3 million on one of our videos alone. So again, we are not going to fight for the platform to remain on there because of the fact that it offers an inconsistency to our viewers who expect to be able to find us when and where they expect it. Now, with that said, of course, we are not going to really hang out and argue with TikTok on that platform. There are too many other platforms that we have at our disposal, and I feel maybe a much more use of our time and a better ability to connect with our audience, and that, of course, being yourself. With that said, again, make sure that you utilize the chat feature. We are looking to interact with you. We can not only discuss the topics that we are discussing on today's show, but we can also veer off as it is live. So we can veer off into conversations that are important to you. So make sure that if you have something that you want to talk about, bring it up. Don't be shy. This show is as much about you as it is about the stories that we bring, because again, the stories are all about interest to the viewers. Now, we will start off with some entertainment news for a change. Yes, there are several big events coming up in the Metro Vancouver area. We'll start with the third annual Salmon Sessions Music Festival. Now that happens in South Surrey at the Semiahmoo Fish and Gun Club. The event itself helps to raise funds and awareness of the hatchery that is in the Campbell Heights community. And this event helps to support the programs in which they deliver. With that said, the programs are run by volunteers, and it is really reliant upon the community to get involved and to help to bring funding to the program. So let's take a look at their little promotional video that will give you a bit more insight into what's happening at this year's Salmon Festival. Save the salmon.
Welcome to the third annual Salmon Sessions Music Festival in support of Little Campbell Hatchery. Richmond's own Angie Faith is set to light up the Salmon Sessions Music Festival, bringing her powerhouse vocals and a handpicked band of favorite local musicians. Deeply connected to the local music scene, Angie is a true hometown talent with a national presence. Get ready for an unforgettable performance from local favorite Richard Tickleman, a South Surrey White Rock native and multiple award-winning pop singer-songwriter. Known for his powerful vocals, emotional storytelling, and an electrical stage presence, Richard has captivated audiences from Toronto to LA, and now he's bringing his full band to Salmon Sessions. Antonio La Rosa is a country rock artist from Vancouver, BC, known for his soulful voice, authentic songwriting, and energetic live performances, blending the grit of classic rock with a heart of traditional country. Antonio has carved out a distinct sound that's earned him recognition across Canada as one of the most promising voices in the genre. Dynamic, daring, and downright unforgettable, The Promise is a roots band with a rockabilly edge, best known for their reoccurring performances on Netflix hit series Virgin River. The Promise is bringing a 5-piece band to Salmon Sessions. 8-time BCCMA Female Artist of the Year with over 1 million Spotify streams and 400,000 YouTube views, Karen Lee Batten delivers powerhouse country soul vocals with rock edge and undeniable stage presence. A Canadian Idol Top 10 finalist and award-winning performer, she shared her dynamic sound from Muscle Shoals to major festivals, earning acclaim across Canada's country music scene. We are thrilled to have Karen Lee Batten headlining this year's festival.
So as you can see, they have quite the lineup planned. Now, Karen Lee Batten is an amazing performer. I had the pleasure of meeting her at a fundraising event that we both participated in back in, it's been at least 10 years, I'm guessing. But yeah, we were out in Maple Ridge at a benefit show, and what an amazing performance that she put on. I've seen her at other events as well, and you definitely are missing out if you don't show up to enjoy the show that she puts on. Not to mention also The Promised, a great band. I actually had the pleasure of meeting the band on this set of Virgin River. So if you're a fan of Netflix's Virgin River, you will probably recognize The Promise and their musical stylings. Now, of course, they play what is scripted for the program, but at the same time, great group of people, amazing talent, and you definitely want to check them out as well. So when we talk about the festival, of course, it's happening Saturday, August the 23rd, and the Little Campbell Hatchery and the Semiahmoo Gun Fish and Gun Club is on 184th Street, just off of 16th Avenue. So again, if you are looking to attend, I strongly encourage you to do so. It is a wonderful event. It is a wonderful organization that really steps up to help the community. So once more, I encourage you to show up for the Salmon Sessions Music Festival, Saturday, August the 23rd, 2025. We will definitely bring you more information as the date draws closer. We'll bring you regular updates about the event and reminders. And you never know, we may end up with a couple of interviews with some of the performers or organizers of the event to make sure that you have all of the answers that you want from the questions you may have. If you have questions that you would like us to bring forward to performers or to the organizers, by all means, put them in the comment section, and we will make note of those if we are able to secure some interview time between now and the date of the event. Given that I am just a few blocks from the venue, I will definitely be in attendance during this year's Salmon Sessions Music Festival. I look forward to it and invite you to be a part of it as well. So once again, that is happening on August the 23rd, 2025. And I will add a link in the description on the rebroadcast of this show on all platforms so that you can follow the link to the event. Now, as we're talking about events coming up in Metro Vancouver, Loverboy is performing September the 7th in New Westminster, British Columbia. Now, this is quite unique in the fact that it is a free concert in New West. Loverboy, if you didn't see them a few years back at the Aldergrove Family Fair Days, or any of the other shows that they've been traveling and performing, then I encourage you to get out, especially if you how can we put this politely? If you're of the genre that I am and the age range that I am, or even younger, because I know everybody loves Loverboy. Everybody's working for the weekend and trying to get turned loose, and so many others. So yes, definitely Loverboy will be in New Westminster. Now, this particular event is to celebrate the recovery from addiction and mental health issues when it comes to individuals who have suffered from such or are currently suffering, to give them encouragement that they can make recovery a reality. Now, Loverboy is there along with others. There's going to be events for kids with a kid zone, a carnival. There's going to be actually 3 live music stages. So, again, lots of different entertainment, but headlined by the one and only Loverboy. And once again, this is Recovery Day BC. It is an event that is brought forward and sponsored by amazing sponsors, including the Cedars, Together We Can, The Last Door, the Province of British Columbia, City of New Westminster, One Life, Uptown New West, as well as the New Westminster House, Tim Hortons, and the Orchard Recovery Center, among others. So thank you to all of the amazing sponsors of this year's Recovery Day BC event. I have also sent a message out to Loverboy's management and PR to see if they would be interested in doing an interview on Primetime Live, the show that I host every Thursday at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time from Jess TV in Lethbridge, Alberta, and Jess FM. So again, I've reached out to Loverboy to see if we could get Mike Reno and the gang on the show to do a bit of an interview about the event and to talk about what's going on. They are very active, still touring, whether it's in the US, whether it's in Canada. You never know where they're going to pop up. And believe me, they have a lot of shows that are just filling their schedule. Right around the Recovery BC event, I believe it is approximately 2 days on each side that they are actually down in the United States doing shows. So again, they take a break to come back to Vancouver to perform at this Recovery Day BC event. So it's an amazing support for the community and a sign of encouragement for those who may be suffering from addiction or mental health issues, that they can get to a place of recovery in their lives and move forward. So once again, excited to see that Loverboy will be playing again in New Westminster on September the 7th. And you can find more information online about that, Recovery Day BC. And again, there's going to be a lot of health information there, a lot of resources for anybody who may be in need, but there's also going to be artisans, food trucks, as I said, the family zone, the carnival, the music, just fun and enjoyable day for everyone. September the 7th, 2025 in New Westminster, British Columbia. Come out and check out Loverboy live. You won't be disappointed. As I said, I saw him a few years ago at the Aldergrove Fair Days, and some of you may have seen some of the photos I shared of that event, as I tend to go out and volunteer over the weekend to help out with the Aldergrove Fair Days and to play the photographer and videographer for the event. I didn't make it out this past weekend, and they are well over 100 years of holding the event in Aldergrove. Again, I didn't get out there this year, but I look forward to being back at the Aldergrove Fair Days next year. If you have any questions, by all means, send us a message, whether that's on our message board or through email. You can always email Propics Canada through the email smile@propicscanada.com. That's PROPICS Canada.com. Don't forget that we always take suggestions for story ideas as well. If there's something that you would like us to investigate or to report on, by all means, just send it through to us. Don't be shy. Use the live chat sessions as well. We love to interact with our audience, so by all means, type it into your chat screen. It will come up on mine. I'm using the Riverside FM platform to stream here and record this program. So again, it brings all of the chats from the various platforms that we're streaming on right now into one chat room so I can respond. So again, feel free to interact with that. Right now, I'll take you to an audio report on Canada's cooling, or at least Western Canada, especially in big cities like Vancouver, the cooling real estate market, as well as the current economic situation that we're facing in British Columbia. Some positives, some negatives, but overall, we just keep moving forward because that's what we do in Western Canada. We are dedicated to just pulling up our bootstraps and moving forward. This segment here has we've played it earlier on the World Business News, and we will play it again for you here. It is a short information, and this segment is brought to you by Carey Movers Limited. That's Metro Vancouver's top family-owned and operated moving company for over 2 decades. Whether you're moving locally in the Metro Vancouver and Fraser Valley area, or if you're looking to move long distance, give Carey Movers a call at 604-687-1746 or log on to their website, www.careymovers.com. That's www.careymovers.com. Now let's take a listen here.
More affordable places like Calgary and Edmonton.
Yeah, we're seeing that trend. And reputable companies in the sector, they're having to adjust. Maybe reducing fleet size, but, trying hard to keep up customer service.
It must be a strategic dilemma for them.
Definitely. Especially when you factor in that projected shortage of, was it up to 25,000 truck drivers by 2025?
Oof. Yeah. Adapting to shifting demand with a shrinking workforce. Tough spot.
Indeed. But, let's connect this to the bigger picture. Look at the home furnishing industry. There's surprising resilience there.
Really, despite the housing slowdown.
Yeah. The Canadian home furniture market is projected for pretty robust growth, something like a 6.40% compound annual growth rate, CAGR, by 2030. That's actually outpacing national GDP forecasts.
That's genuinely surprising. What does that tell us? How are people adapting?
Well, it suggests they're investing in their current living spaces, right? Enhancing the homes they already have.
Instead of moving.
Exactly. And it's also driven by a big structural shift. Hybrid work models. They seem pretty permanent now.
The home office effect.
Precisely. Home office furniture is the fastest growing segment, expanding at like a 6.6% CAGR. People are reconfiguring their existing spaces, not necessarily just relocating.
Okay, that makes sense. But as these industry shifts happen, they also highlight a crucial risk for consumers, particularly if you're planning move.
What's that?
The growing challenge of unlicensed and uninsured moving companies.
Yes, the lowball offers.
Exactly. They lure you in with unrealistic pricing, maybe $59 an hour, but then come the hidden fees, untrained staff, no insurance.
And if something gets damaged, like a big TV.
Right, that could easily wipe out any savings you thought you made. Those cheap rates end up being anything but cheap.
That's a critical point. The Better Business Bureau, they reported over 750 complaints against movers just in the past year. That's up 13%.
Wow.
And a big part of the problem is the fragmented regulatory landscape. There's no single federal or interprovincial license, no unified standard.
So it's hard to hold them accountable across
It's
borders.
very hard. And crucially, consumer protection bodies like Service Alberta, for example, they explicitly state they cannot recover financial losses for consumers in these situations.
So you're on your own if things go wrong with an unlicensed mover.
Pretty much. So due diligence is just paramount. You absolutely have to verify licenses, check for commercial liability insurance, look for reputable associations like the Canadian Association of Movers, CANAM.
Good advice. Okay, so wrapping this up, what does all this mean for you, our listener? Western Canada's real estate market is clearly undergoing a very nuanced transformation. It's impacting related industries in unexpected ways and bringing some critical risks for consumers that stem directly from these market shifts.
Which leaves us with an important question for you to think about. How might these shifts, the interprovincial migration patterns, the permanence of hybrid work, how might these fundamentally reshape not just where we live,
How we live.
exactly, and the very design of our living spaces in the long term? What does that future look like?
Definitely something to ponder as you navigate your own decisions, using these insights to be, well, truly well informed.
So there we have it, as you can hear. I mean, it's surprising that the furniture industry is actually seeing an increase in demand and, of course, increased sales, which is a positive. But the negative, again, is looking at the overall housing market and the other areas in which that impacts. And of course, moving companies are one of many industries that see a downturn with the downturn of the real estate movement. Now, as I said, that segment was broadcast on our other network, our World Business News Network. So again, you can check that out and keep up to date on other stories as they are released in segments there. That segment was brought to you by Western Canada's top family-owned and operated moving company, Carey Movers, at www.karymovers.com. Check them out. Get a quote for your upcoming move, whether it's in Metro Vancouver in the Fraser Valley or if you're looking to move long distance. Carey Movers is there and a member of the Better Business Bureau with an A+ rating. They've been in business for decades, servicing the local and long distance moving community. Now, let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, to the next part of the program, in which we are going to take a look at some of the headlines that have been reaching out across not only the Lower Mainland, but Western Canada, across the nation, and around the world. Now, let's start in Metro Vancouver, where a teen was stabbed in downtown Vancouver, down at Robson Square. At this time, the boy has been announced as deceased, and police are rapidly and aggressively investigating the death of this young man. Now, the 15-year-old was not understood to be attending the international fireworks competition in downtown Vancouver, but down there for other reasons. What they are really doesn't matter, but the point is that this individual was stabbed to death near Robson Square in downtown Vancouver. Anyone with information in relation to this attack or any others is encouraged to reach out to Crime Stoppers or the Vancouver Police Department. Whereas out in Surrey, across the river, of course, we know that there are problems with extortion within the South Asian community and a crime pandemic with when you look at the extortion problem across Canada, in Toronto, Brampton, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, and other communities, this has been ongoing. In the latest incident, a Surrey banquet hall was shot up when gunshots fired from the exterior to the interior of the banquet hall in Surrey. Police are investigating, but again, business owners are raising concerns about the extortion threats that are a prevalent issue within the community. Vancouver zoning changes are coming, and that is the Vancouver City Council looking to make major zoning changes for the Broadway and Canby corridors, potentially impacting 4,300 properties and raising questions about affordability. Now, the province of British Columbia is not necessarily taking the same action as Vancouver when it comes to gun-shaped lighters. They are looking in the city of Vancouver to actually ban any lighters that are in the shape of a gun. I personally have one. It's a little metal one that's a collector piece, but again, I don't take it out on the streets with me. But again, the city of Vancouver is looking to pass a bylaw to ban the gun-shaped lighters within the city of Vancouver. RCMP vehicle responding to an emergency call was involved in a collision in Surrey. We don't know what the call was that they were attending to, or whether or not they did have the emergency sirens and lights going. But we do know that he or she, the officer, was responding to an emergency call. So therefore, we would anticipate that they did have emergency indicators activated. But again, we'll watch for more information on this collision and whether or not there were any injuries, as we don't know at this time. And finally, for the local area, fentanyl in supportive housing has been in the news over the last several days. And the report indicates grossly exceeded levels of fentanyl in the air at some supportive housing offices, proving risk to workers. Now, that is a big concern when there is fentanyl floating in the air in these supportive housing offices and in the buildings. Of course, the potential to be airborne and inhaled by staff or visitors or other tenants in the building. At this time, they are looking at at options to deal with this problem, including providing staff with face masks and respirators, or at least some type of PPE. This should be a big concern, and they should be taking rapid action to deal with this, as free-flowing fentanyl in the air of residential buildings should be a very high health risk and concern that takes immediate and decisive action, not to mention the legalities of it, and the fact that a lot of this supportive housing program is aimed towards people who have gone through recovery and the different treatment programs. By subjecting them to a facility where there is airborne fentanyl, of course, is counterproductive to ensuring their sobriety is maintained and supported. So again, a big issue with that. We'll keep on top of that story as further information comes out on that report. On the national stage, the Canada-U.S. trade tensions continue with the ongoing dispute over tariffs between Canada and the U.S., and President Trump reportedly calling Canadians nasty for avoiding U.S. travel and banning U.S. booze. U.S. senators have been meeting with Prime Minister Carney to discuss trade and security. Several U.S. senators were actually in Ottawa today to meet with Carney in his offices and try to find some solutions going forward. Of course, with Trump's ongoing talk about with the annexation of Canada and his other rhetoric and his other divisive conversations or statements in the media, of course, this continues to drive a reduction in the tourism industry in the United States, dropping tourism by over 20% and potentially much higher this fiscal year. A lot of people have taken it upon themselves to reschedule vacations to visit Canadian destinations, national parks, or international destinations that do not include the United States, contributing to a multi-billion-dollar loss in the U.S. tourism sector. This again is very clearly making a point to the US administration that Canadians are fed up with all of the talk of annexation, the disrespect towards our nation and our people, and the lack of credibility when it comes to Donald Trump following through on trade issues, trade agreements. Even if we do reach some type of settlement, there's a good chance that there's going to be tariffs involved, and Mark Carney has not really addressed as to what Canada's response would be in that case. But at the end of the day, Canada has had trade agreements with the US for many, many years, and the last updated agreement was actually negotiated by Donald Trump in his first term, and now he says that it's one of the worst deals ever. So, at the time he touted it as one of the best deals ever. Now he's saying it's one of the worst, and yet he is the one who was at the helm of that trade agreement in any account. So again, Canadians are still putting their foot down when it comes to supporting U.S. business, travel, and other industries. In terms of other information across Canada, over 260,000 above-ground swimming pools sold in Canada have been recalled due to drowning hazards following 9 deaths in the U.S. I would be curious to know exactly how this is happening and what the term is. We'll look into this further as we've just called out the headline here. But again, it's a swimming pool. I would think that there is an inherent risk with the swimming pool of drowning. So again, we will look into that and bring you further information on that story later in the week. A Montreal woman who joined ISIS as a teenager has been convicted of aiding a terrorist group, and that is a first in Canada for a conviction for a family support within ISIS. So again, it is a big story. We'll watch what happens now that the conviction has been made to see what the sentencing will come out of it. We'll report to you after the sentencing happens to update you on that story. Now, in terms of Robert Picton, the pig farmer, everybody knows in Western Canada who Robert Picton is and knows of the pig farm and the Picton farm. He was killed in last May, after an assault in prison. He was apparently stabbed with a broom handle, among other injuries, and succumbed to those injuries. At this time, it turns out, or it has been announced, that a prisoner will be charged with first-degree murder in the killing of serial killer Robert Picton. So again, they haven't released the name as of yet, but there will be an inmate who is facing criminal charges of first-degree murder. In the meantime, we look to Canada Post, who has been in the midst of an 18-month job action and continues on. At this point, they are beginning to vote on a final offer amidst concerns of potential strikes. Now, this is the alleged final offer by the Government of Canada and the employer to the union, and we will watch and see how this plays out. Now, of course, Canada Post is claiming that they are losing millions of dollars a day in the operation of the National Postal Service. So with that said, of course, there are questions as to why they are not being more forward in terms of going after the contracts such as Amazon and others to bring them into profitability. A part of the problem seems to be not only the fact that Amazon and other carriers who deliver packages from major online retailers, of course, use non-unionized labor and are subject to less restrictions when it comes to the hours of service or hours of work, and the restrictions on weekend deliveries. So again, there has to be some type of a resolve to the Canada Post dispute if they plan on, if they do plan on saving the Canada Post service. We need to see different options and different frameworks for a business model that will be sustainable for the Canada Post Corporation moving forward. And we'll keep an eye on how this final vote comes up and let you know as it happens. Now, 10 British Columbians in British Columbia have been hospitalized with the measles, and that is a big concern in Western Canada. The province of Alberta, I don't have the exact count of people infected with the measles there, but I do know that it has actually surpassed all of the United States in terms of the counts. There's been much debate over the years whether or not the measles vaccine is appropriate for children, and there are people that are on both sides of that argument. And it's only been fed even more by the anti vax opinions and attitudes coming out of the United States Department of Health and, of course, RFK Jr. We'll move on from that, but we'll keep you posted as we see the numbers change across Canada when it comes to the measles, and also encourage people to get vaccinated if you can. Obviously, there's a lot of misinformation out there about it. Excuse me, do what's best for you and your family, but at the same time, it's something I strongly encourage. Around the world, of course, we know that the Gaza conflict is far from over. Canada, along with 24 other countries, have issued joint statement demanding an immediate end to the war in Gaza, criticizing aid restrictions and Israeli settlements. This has been going on for quite some time, and although there was a negotiated ceasefire between Israel and Iran, the same is not in place for Palestine and the Gaza region. A lot of people were under the false assumption by not following the details that the ceasefire included the Gaza region and Palestine, but it did not indeed. Instead, that ceasefire was strictly between Iran and Israel. So hopefully we can see some type of an immediate end to the war and the suffering that is there. We know that there's a lot of war crimes that the Royal Canadian Mounted Police are involved in investigating and trying to document, although it is a challenging situation for Interpol, the International Policing Agency, as well as the RCMP to get a lot of evidence, but they are working hard in doing so. With that said, of course, they are looking at war crimes that have been committed by both sides, not one or the other, but both. So again, everybody needs to be held accountable when they act against international law and the rules of war. Bangladesh Air Force crash. Yes, a Bangladeshi Air Force training jet crashed into a school in Dhaka, killing at least 20 people, mostly students. Unfortunately, that is the big problem there in Bangladesh. And also in India, apparently, there are reports coming out that Air India, prior to the recent crash of Flight 121, was also ordered given citations for other safety infractions and orders to comply. So again, we'll get into that in deeper depth or in further depth on another episode where we'll look into the history and the safety of Air India. Discussions continue around the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files, with President Donald Trump's administration reportedly releasing FBI records on Martin Luther King Jr. despite his family's opposition. It seems to be just another point of Donald Trump trying to distract people from the Epstein files, hoping that this will be something to distract people, including the news cycle, but it is far from it. We need to understand what was all in the Epstein file. A lot of people will be disappointed when they see the grand jury documentation when and if it gets released, because of the fact that it does not provide names of other individuals who may have been suspected of being involved in the Epstein scandal. With that said, an individual in Florida has been arrested for making death threats against all of those who were on the Jeffrey Epstein list. But my question is, how can he be charged with making threats against people on a list that doesn't exist, according to the FBI, Homeland Security, the Department of Security, as well as Donald Trump himself? If the list doesn't exist, then how is this individual in Florida being arrested and facing charges of uttering threats? Of course, we need to look at that, but again, it is the political structure and geopolitical status in the U.S. at this time. For those that are customers and users of SharePoint, a program by Microsoft, there is a vulnerability. Microsoft has released an urgent fix for a SharePoint vulnerability that was being used in global cyber attacks. So again, your systems may be at risk of being hacked. held for ransom, as they call ransomware, or other nefarious activities. So again, if you are a user such as myself of SharePoint by Microsoft, it is important that you get that urgent fix for the SharePoint program. And again, this brings into a lot of concern for my systems. So I will have to further explore that as well from a security standpoint, a cybersecurity standpoint on our end at Propics TV. Thanks, Microsoft, for getting the fix out, but wouldn't it have been better had they not had this vulnerability to start with? But again, it seems like every time you create anything by humans, another human can circumvent it, and it's an ongoing cat and mouse game. Now, in the Breonna Taylor raid, of course, now there is another headline coming out of that. An ex-police officer involved in the Breonna Taylor raid has been sentenced to nearly 3 years in prison. In a little bit of a different outlook and a different news report, Earth's speed. Yes, the Earth is spinning faster, leading timekeepers to consider an unprecedented adjustment to our clocks and our watches. Incredible. Who would ever have thought this was going to be an issue of the Earth spinning faster and actually to a point where we need to adjust our clocks or our watches. So again, the Earth's speed is spinning faster. Hopefully when I hang my clothes out to dry, that means less time of the wind blowing them if the Earth is moving faster. Finally, for the end of tonight's report, I'd like to send a condolence out to the family, the friends, and the colleagues of Malcolm Jamal Warner. The actor, best known for The Cosby Show, has passed away at the age of 54 due to accidental drowning. I don't know if it had anything to do with the pools we were talking about earlier, but again, accidental drowning, passed away at the age of 54, Malcolm Jamal Warner. Condolences to his family, friends, and colleagues within the industry. His work is still enjoyed by many people on many different networks as it is running in reruns and still a staple of a lot of my era growing up was The Cosby Show. And once again, our condolences to all of his family, friends, and colleagues. Well, folks, that was the end of another live chat with James. I hope you've enjoyed this show. Again, don't be shy. Make sure that you put your comments down below. Share your thoughts, opinions, and, of course, your story ideas. If you don't want to put them on the public part of the site for the chat or on our message boards, by all means, you can email the show at smile@propicscanada.com. That's PROPICS Canada.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again for tuning in. Stay safe out there, everyone. And once again, this is James Guzmo for Live Chat with James here on Propics TV in Vancouver, British Columbia.